It's D-Day, 0 hour. One last chance to contemplate what lies ahead. From confidence to concentration. Some of the world's greatest triathletes make their final preparations for the test that is to come.
Racers ready? Start the race!
As the sound of the foghorn echoes over the bay, the race is underway at 10:19 a.m.
It's great to finally get moving in the cold water. The stronger swimmers with the better technique usually move right to the front.
Mike Pigg simply owns this race. The only triathlete to post 4 wins here will today be the 5th. Greg Welch, Pigg's friend and rival, he's looking for his 2nd Alcatraz title. Wes Hobson is young and strong. He finished 2nd on this course a year ago. And Alec Rugasoyev is an unknown quantity. Some say he could be a sleeper today. Among the women, Sue Latshaw is the defending champ. She won't be a surprise, as she was last year. But all eyes will be on McKeely Jones, the world's most dominant short course triathlete. She has her sights set on avenging a bitter loss here 1 year ago.
But with the race just underway, it's another woman who swims to the front of the pack. Barb Lindquist, a Stanford grad who lives and trains in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, not a triathlon hotbed. She is serving notice to Jones and Latshaw that there will be some tough competition today.
Among the men, Lars Jorgensen, an Olympic distance swimmer, has grabbed an early overall lead. But not far behind are a pair of triathletes who are sure to be there at the end, Greg Welch and Mike Pigg. No one has been more successful here than Mike Pigg. During 13 years in the sport, he has won Alcatraz a record 4 times. Greg Welch is always strong, but here at Alcatraz, inconsistent, finishing 3rd, 2nd, and in '93, 1st.
Greg is just a wild card. Greg is a really, really talented athlete.
I think Mike and I know each other inside and out.
That was the photo the next day. These guys running across the Golden Gate Bridge.
That wasn't me.
Greg and I hang out a lot together. He actually comes to Boulder, Colorado, and we live together. So we enjoy hanging around each other. I mean, just all bets are off when the gun goes off. You don't even know each other anymore.
Do well at Alcatraz. I think it's a mental thing because we know each other so well. Physically, I think it's a mental thing that we can use to hurt each other or pass each other or whatever it is.
Greg is such an elite runner that when it comes down to that battle of the run, either I have the race won before we get to the run, or Greg is running me down and he's on fire and he hasn't won 4 miles out before the finish line. There's that much difference in our biking and running skills.
Mike Pigg, Greg Welch, and the rest of the swimmers have now started to put distance between themselves and the rock. But that doesn't mean they've left their darkest fears behind.
I think every participant in the escape from Alcatraz, your imagination runs wild, especially when you can't see. And when it's gray and murky and you can't even see your hand in front of your face, you see shadows. And you see shadows when there aren't shadows. So, absolutely, I think everyone there's the thought of a shark or something lurking very close.
Right now, no one is lurking close to Lars Jorgensen. He's raced out to a big early lead.
And Lars is showing Olympic-level technique here. He's leading the train. He's out in front. He has to lift his head to sight, and yet even so, he can still remain smooth and powerful in this choppy water.
Among the women, Barb Lindquist is having an amazing swim so far. She's even ahead of some of the favored men like Pigg and Welch. She almost has a smoother, stronger stroke than Lars Jorgensen. That's because she doesn't have to lift her head quite as often to sight for shore.
Well, like last year, there may be controversy involving Rip Esselstyn. Alone at the top of the screen, this racing renegade is in 2nd place, but 50 yards to the west of the rest of the swimmers.
Rip has been first out of the water here at Alcatraz 6 times, and he often likes to gamble on the tide by taking a different line. But if he strays too far off the course set by Jorgensen in the lead boat, he could be disqualified. Today, as he continues to follow his own route, Rip is just ahead of Russian Alek Rukasoyev in second place, but both men still trail Jorgensen by about 100 yards.
And right now, Lars Jorgensen is setting a pace that no one can match. He's opened up nearly a minute lead over veterans like Greg Welch and Wes Hobson, and defending champion Mike Pigg is even farther behind. Lars is all by himself as he heads for a successful escape from Alcatraz. And Barb Lindqvist has an even bigger margin in the women's race. At the halfway point of the swim, Lars Jorgensen leads Rip Esselstyn, Greg Welch trying to keep them both in his sights. And among the women, favorite McKeely Jones trails by over a minute. This GGP Sports presentation, the 24-Hour Fitness Escape from Alcatraz Triathlon, is being brought to you by 24-Hour Fitness. Bigger, better, and stronger with 149 locations in 7 states. Call 1-800-204-2400 for the club near you. By Sea-Doo Watercraft. Sea-Doo, the best-selling boat in the world. Everybody's doing it. Sea-Doo. By Saucony. Proud to be the official shoe of the Escape from Alcatraz Triathlon. Saucony, loyal to the sport. And by Muscle and Fitness and Men's Fitness magazines, covering all facets of fit living. Muscle and Fitness and Men's Fitness magazines are your guides to super well-being. Welcome back to the 24-Hour Fitness Escape from Alcatraz Triathlon, where Lars Jorgensen continues to lead the swim as they near the shore. There's one competitor for whom the name Escape from Alcatraz has special meaning. It's the Russian Alek Rukasoyev. Rukasoyev's family was moved forcibly by Stalin's troops to Siberia in the 1930s. They lived in a place called Omsk. It's an acronym. The Russian words translate to mean place for prisoners far away. Alek Rukasoyev has escaped from Omsk through the sport of triathlon. For American prisoners, this place was even more difficult to escape from. Except for the escapism of Hollywood. In the 1995 film The Rock, one of nearly a dozen movies made about Alcatraz, Sean Connery plays the only inmate to ever escape from Alcatraz.
Welcome to the Rock.
In real life, Alcatraz's most famous inmates, the notorious Al Scarface Capone, and a man who spent 17 years in the hell of solitary confinement, the Birdman, Robert Stroud, never escaped. There was nothing glamorous about life on the Rock. Alcatraz's difficult conditions did prompt 14 escape attempts. The most notorious occurred when Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers used makeshift tools to carve holes in their cells, crawled through a ventilation shaft, and made their way to the shore, where they slipped into the bay on crude rafts. They were never heard from again. Today, it looks like our triathletes are about to accomplish what Alcatraz's prisoners could not. Lars Jorgensen is going to be the first to make it to the shore across from the Marina Green.
This race has a unique feature that incorporates a 1-mile run right out of the swim. The race organizers have made it mandatory to help the athletes warm up to prevent hypothermia on the bicycle ride.
And after climbing up from the beach, they have to continue trying to run across the transition area to get to where they're going to change into their shoes. Again, this 1-mile run for balance. You can see hypothermia means your balance is off. These athletes have to warm up before they get on the bike because it can be very, very dangerous.
I have always thought that this transition is one of the most frustrating parts of the race. You know you need to get through it quickly, but your hands and feet are numb, you're shivering. This slow transition is really going to hurt Lars. He's not as strong on the bike and run legs.
Second out of the water, a surprise, amateur Brian O'Mara. No threat to Lars Jorgensen, who decides that, shoes or not, he's got to go.
Look at Barb Lindquist. Not just the first woman, but right up there amongst the overall leaders.
Despite a dreadful transition, Jorgensen still holding on to the lead, but he knows the shoe could soon be on the other foot.
Barb Lindquist comes in 5th place overall in the swim, just behind Alec Rukasoyev. With the next woman still 50 yards from the beach, she knows that a quick transition will give her a chance to put some more distance between herself and McKeely Jones.
There goes Rip Esselstyn in pursuit of Lars Jorgensen. And Jorgensen not only trying to escape from Alcatraz, but to escape from his fumbling transition. He must be quicker at the bike. And his competition is not far behind. Greg Welch is already flying, although Mike Pigg is still trying to get his feet on the ground. Pigg always makes up time on the bike course, but will it be enough?
As Rip enters the transition area, Lars is only about 60 yards ahead now, just reaching his bike. But these two athletes already have their best event behind them, the swim. And Lars, I'll tell you, there's only one way to describe it. He is having a bad transition day. You have to be methodical. You can't rush.
Anytime you're in the lead, it's great. But it has to be a little demoralizing for these two right now. Greg Welch is such a strong runner, and if anyone has benefited from the 1 mile run, it is the fleet-footed Aussie. And here he is, chewing up that swim lead. He is so quick in and out of transition. The leaders can't help but hear footsteps.
Greg is up to speed on the bike, and with Mike Pigg yet to reach the transition, you have to wonder if this is the year his lock on the escape from Alcatraz might be at an end.
One racer who has reached the transition is women's leader Barb Lindquist, who's opened up a 2-minute lead over McKeely Jones. 2 minutes, it's huge. But will that margin hold off the world's winningest triathlete?
My name is McKeely Jones. My biggest breakthrough was probably coming over to the US and just racing against the fastest women in the world. And the first couple of races, I was way off the back. But then by the end of the season, I started winning races. Then the following year, I was world champion. The following year, I was world champion. Alcatraz, the water's cold. It was damn cold. It's a hilly course, long run. So it's a challenge, and that really excites me. Sorry. There's a weakness, but I ain't gonna tell you guys, because I don't want anyone else to know.
No weaknesses here for McKeely Jones into the bike transition. She's strong in all 3 triathlon disciplines, and she doesn't give up time here where seconds count. Barb Lindquist ahead on the road, getting into her shoes. Top triathletes keep their cycling shoes locked into the clipless pedals on their bikes and perform this unorthodox maneuver. On the climb out of Crissy Field, big Lars Jorgensen looks like he's pushing one gear too big for this hill. He's still in first place, but for how long? Lars Jorgensen leading the men, but his rivals are closing fast. And for the women, Lindquist is number 1. McKeely Jones, well, can she catch up? Welcome back to the 24-hour fitness escape from Alcatraz Triathlon, where the top pros are pedaling through the streets of San Francisco.
The bike leg takes the races through the Presidio, Golden Gate Park, along the Great Highway, and back by the same route. 18 miles of breathtaking scenery.
Breathtaking? For Lars Jorgensen, it may be that his breath's been taken away. The strongest swimmer here, on the bike, he's a fish out of water. With Greg Welch and Rip Esselstyn on his tail, he's about to lose his lead that he's owned since the beginning of the race. And coming up fast, another challenger, one with a less familiar name. It's second-year pro Greg Thompson.
And you can see that Greg Welch is actually toying with Rip Esselstyn. He knows he can pass him anytime he wants, but Greg Thompson is a very strong climber. He goes right by the leaders as if they're standing still. Welch may have to put out a little more effort than he'd like just to stay close to Thompson.
Now Thompson and Welch start to pull away from the others as they begin their long, rolling march down to the sea. And on the downhill, Greg Welch once again takes the lead. Now, Paula, Welch must be a little surprised that he can't shake Greg Thompson here.
Well, this is a course that demands a lot of biking skills, and having to chase someone makes it even riskier. On the other hand, Greg Welch is so tough on the run course, he may figure all he needs to do is stay within striking distance.
I agree, Paula. You can see that Welch, he's not all that concerned with holding on to the lead at this point. He's even got time to wave. He's actually going by Robin Williams' house. He'll be there after the race for a barbecue. One thing both of these guys might be wondering, though, is where is Mike Pigg, another attendee of that party? We know that he's about a minute behind them, but they don't. The longer both of them stay ahead of Pigg, the better chance they're going to have of winning the race.
Greg Thompson is really showing some bike strength here, working those big gears. He's looking for that right combination that will enable him to maintain a pedaling cadence and keep him ahead of Greg Welch.
And as the racers fly down the backside of Feuer's Bluff and into Golden Gate Park, there's no one in sight behind them. What began as a free-for-all among 500 has become a battle for just 2.
And you can see Greg Thompson checking behind him. I think he knows where Greg Welch is, just a little ways back, but he wants to make sure no one else is sneaking up from way back.
They make the turn onto the long straightaway of the Great Highway with upset-minded Greg Thompson nearly halfway to the promised land. Barb Lindquist, whose strong swim propelled her into first place, is still holding on to that lead on the bike. 2 minutes faster than McKeely Jones in the water. She's not losing any time here. One of the stars of Baywatch, Alexandra Paul, is starring in her own Bay race today, a fast 45-minute swim.
Oh, my hands aren't working.
No, you're not spent yet, though.
No, sir. I still got 18 miles on the bike and an 8-mile run.
This is Jim Howley exiting the water now. Just days before this race, he completed the longest triathlon in the United States from California to New York City. For this athlete, every day is a victory. Diagnosed with AIDS in 1989, he credits his very survival to the sport of triathlon. His coach is legendary triathlete Scott Tinley.
He's an amazing story. You know, I mean, I knew Jim when he was just getting involved in triathlons, and he was somewhat of a neophyte in that he really didn't have a clue what to do. But he was like an empty page. He was so fresh and so excited and so in wonderment about what the potentials were, not only in combating his problems, but in how it could change his life. That it was just great to be around the guy, and he would just soak up information, So I find that incredibly refreshing in this day and age.
Without triathlons, I would not be here at all. I'd be dead. When I got the exercise into my life, all of a sudden I had something supporting me, so I didn't have to be afraid. I had other things to look forward to. Instead of AIDS being my whole life, it became just a small part of my life. Exercise became my whole life, and it turned things around.
His legs and lungs are strong. His will is stronger still. Battling a death sentence handed down 14 years ago, now every step is a journey on his road to recovery.
I want to tell people that despite the challenge in their life, if it's AIDS, if it's MS, if it's depression, whatever, exercise can help you get through it. It's not a cure, but it makes your life so much better. At least go out and take a walk. I just want to get better like everybody else does and beat my last time and maybe beat the guy in front of me. Like the saying says, if you find yourself falling off a cliff, you might as well try and fly, and I'm going to be flying after this whole thing's over.
Finishing the first part of his journey today, Jim Howley running now to the bike transition. But flying to the rescue of struggling swimmers, the Bombardier Sea-Doo rescue crafts aid athletes in the rough, cold water off Alcatraz. For the vast majority of competitors, victory isn't possible, but triumphs of the spirit are. Simply ascending a wall of sand can make someone their own king of the hill, just as overcoming notions of age will. Henderson Cleaves is 65, in age, not attitude.
I was very surprised. There were no other 60-year-olds on it. You know, I told my wife that. She says, well, maybe they knew something you don't know.
On the Great Highway, a bicycle propelled by pig power makes the halfway turnaround. Mike Pigg in third place and charging. And Frank Shorter is with the leaders in the Chevy Pace truck.
Out here on the Great Highway, it may be flat, but this bike course is mostly climbs, descents, and turns. In short, it favors the rider with bike handling skills. In the past, it's been those riders who have prevailed in this entire race, and it could happen again today.
Now going into the final leg of the bike portion of the race, Greg Thompson, though still in first place, hasn't really gained any ground on Welch or Pigg. You can see the gap between Greg and another Greg, none other than Greg Welch, still looking fresh.
Welch is a smart rider, compact and aero on his bike, riding his own pace, not wasting energy, pouring it on in a sprint to catch Thompson. He's saving some strength for the run.
And he'll need his strength because on his tail is Mike Pigg, a monster on two wheels. Greg Thompson is still the man ahead of Mike Pigg at this point, and one wonders how important his experience here. Pigg's been a pro for 13 years, Thompson only 2.
Well, Greg, experience counts. This is where Mike Pigg is really dangerous. He has the ability to hone in on the man in front of him and then take over the race.
Welch, pedaling strong, is staying in contact with the leader, Greg Thompson. And here comes Mike Pigg. If anyone can dominate the bike portion of a race, it's Mike. Remember, the Escape from Alcatraz is his race. 4 first-place finishes, more than anyone else.
Mike took 3 months off of training this winter. However, he is certainly looking very fit on his bike right now. He has got to try and get to the transition area with about a minute or so lead on Greg Welch, because he knows if they start that leg neck and neck, Welch has the power to run away with this race.
Can pigs fly? Yes, and not just in fairy tales. Pigg passes leader Thompson, Welch on his wheel. This is a 3-man race. The 24-hour fitness Escape from Alcatraz Triathlon is being brought to you by 24-Hour Fitness. 24-Hour Fitness is proud to sponsor the Escape from Alcatraz Triathlon. By Triathlete Magazine, the world's largest magazine on the sport, the only choice for triathletes around the globe. For subscription, call 800-441-1666. And by Nicoderm CQ Stop Smoking Patch. You bring a commitment. CQ brings the rest. Hornblower now has ports in San Diego, Newport Beach, Marina del Rey, and in Lake Tahoe. But last night it was on San Francisco Bay that the California Hornblower hosted 35 top triathletes. It was a night for fun and camaraderie before the serious business to come. And this is serious business. As the men enter the transition area for the second time, Mike Pigg is in a familiar position, in the lead 2/3 of the way to his 5th Alcatraz title.
Oh, and a near disaster there for Pigg. He had one foot stuck in the pedal. You have to be quick, but you don't want to hurry so much that you make that fatal mistake.
Pig's lead is not the huge cushion he's had in past years. The ever-dangerous Greg Welch is only seconds behind entering the transition. And just behind them, Greg Thompson, who led throughout most of the bike race. He's still in the hunt.
But Greg, remember, we heard Mike Pigg talk earlier about the difference in biking and running skills between him and Welch. Now, Mike made up 1.5 minutes on the bike course, which gives him a little lead. He started nearly that far behind. This lead may be too small to hold up over the run course, a discipline that really favors Greg Welch.
So Mike Pigg reaches Marina Boulevard in the lead, but Greg Welch less than 30 seconds behind, and Greg Thompson still has a chance to win. He's running strong in third.
The 8-mile run course will take the racers along the coastal trail, through the Presidio, down to Baker Beach and back exactly the same route with one exception, the Baker Beach Sand Ladder. Paula?
This sand ladder is undoubtedly the defining feature of the run course here. Not only is it physically the most challenging, but it also presents a big mental obstacle. Every athlete approaching would like to run all the way up and not be reduced to a walk, something we have not seen since its inclusion in the course.
Along Crissy Field, the three leaders push each other. Greg Welch, a burst of speed, testing the legs of Thompson and Pigg, and showing his strength. 8 miles, 3 men. Who will survive? Barb Lindquist still holding a 2-minute gap over McKeely Jones. This top swimmer isn't slowing down on the bike portion of this race, clocking an average speed of 22 miles an hour. McKeely Jones at the Great Highway Turnaround, her average speed, an identical 22 miles an hour. She can see Lindquist on the horizon, but can she catch her? Back in the finish area, the fans await the return of the leaders, and they're enjoying the 3rd annual 24-hour fitness Rockin' Fitness Fest.
When you get into this event, you get wrapped inside it. To see him jump in the water, swim across the ocean, as you might want to say, or the bay itself, get up and then run through the sand, jump on a bike, and then hop off, run down into the Marina Green, you get pretty excited. You think you can do it. You get an opportunity to represent the wares or the things that you have to do to increase that performance, from the way you eat to the way you train to how you train to where you do it, where you train at.
Clothing provided by Power Bar. Balanced nutrition, lasting energy. Power Bar, power on. Greg Welch gaining ground across the sand of Baker Beach and into the run turnaround. So Frank Shorter, what are Greg Thompson and Mike Pigg thinking now?
Well, Greg, they just have to have faith in their own pace and hope that Greg Welch comes back to them, but they also have to be careful that they don't go too hard and blow up. They still have to make it up those sand stairs.
Back at Marina Green, McKeely Jones is off her bike and in the transition area. She's made up some time on Barb Lindquist, and she's not losing any of it here. McKeely Jones makes an art of the quick change. And Greg Welch is the first to reach the sand ladder on Baker Beach. Over 400 agonizing wooden steps on a steep grade. This is where the race can spin out of control for the faint of heart. And moments later, Greg Thompson and Mike Pigg facing the near impossible task of trying to make up ground on the course's toughest terrain.
And Greg, it's totally mental here because these athletes don't train for this. Look, Mike Pigg goes down. They look so awkward because in no other event do they have to go through this.
This is definitely not a muscle-specific activity that these athletes train for or is in any way a part of their daily training regimen.
Nonetheless, Greg Welch comes as close as anyone to making this look easy, running almost all the way up. And for Pigg and Thompson, It's an uphill battle the rest of the way as they try to catch Greg Welch. After all, it's the sport's premier runner who's in the lead. For most of this race, Barb Lindquist has held a 2-minute margin over McKeely Jones. But a mile into the run, McKeely's taken back 20 seconds. Greg Welch down the Fern Grove steps, flying toward Chrissy Field in first place. Mike Pigg in second place, into the tunnel. But Pigg's been giving up 13 seconds every mile to Greg Welch. Greg Welch knows this course so well. He knows the finish line is near, and he's running strong. The pain he feels now will soon turn to exhilaration and joy. Passing through the last aid station, he must certainly know now this race is his. Promotional consideration provided by Hornblower Dining Yachts, complete with nightly dinner dance cruises, weekend champagne brunches, and private charters. For more information, call 1-800-ON-THE-BAY. Below the majestic Golden Gate Bridge that joins Marin County and San Francisco, a battle is being waged at Baker Beach. McKeely Jones' dogged pursuit of Barb Lindquist has paid off, but has she spent too much in the chase? Can she hold off the hard-charging Lindquist when the two duel on the infamous sand stairs? Greg Welch now alone, getting a hero's welcome as he strides into the Marina Green, and this man has run away from the competition today. He's won this race before and struggled for years trying to find his form and repeat that feat. Now how sweet it is for Greg Welch finishing this grueling race alone, not feeling any pain right now, just the pleasure of a brilliant performance.
Greggy, mate. There you go, pal. How you doing?
Greg Welch, just over 2 hours. Fantastic race.
Greg, first off, great ride. You think you won it on the ride?
I just had to be conservative and just, you know, have a good ride and be strong the whole way. And I was strong on the hills.
You were great on the hills. What, did you feel better when you got through the whole ride on the bike? No jam chains, no nothing?
Yeah, 2 years ago I jammed my chain, lost like 2 minutes, which I think cost me the race. So no bike failure today. My bike was great, and there was a little chaos coming back down the last hill on the bike. There was a car on there, but he wanted to get around. But anyway, we got around him and got home.
Well, let's watch the finish. Who's
coming
in second place, defending champion Mike Pigg. He's held off second-year pro Greg Thompson, but he just couldn't catch Welch, and clearly this man has spent everything in the effort.
Second place, 24-hour fitness.
And just behind Pigg in third place, producing a phenomenal result, is Greg Thompson. And we may be looking at the future of the sport of triathlon right here.
Pro up there with the big boys, right behind Mike.
The final standings for the men, Greg Welch's second victory. Pigg settles for second. Thompson announces he's a star of tomorrow. And Welch is now a celebrity among celebrities. His biggest fan, Robin Williams.
Thank you. Much congratulations. Go now, you quickly. Shave the rest of your body. We talk later.
I go in now. You take light.
So Greg Welch, the men's champion. But this event isn't over. The women are on their run for glory now. McKeely Jones now on the cruel uphill, using the cables on the railings, tugging herself up this steep climb. She somehow made time on Barb Lindquist, but this ladder, like the devil, has no friends.
Bob Lindquist, who was so strong in the water and on the bike, is feeling the full measure of this race now. However, her surprisingly strong race should not be diminished in the least by the fact that she has lost the lead. The steep slope, soft sand, is taking its toll on all the athletes, their quads, knees, calves. and especially their lungs.
With every painful step, McKeely Jones is taking time away from Barb Lindquist, and in this race, time is running out. Time defines the alliance between rivals Greg Welch and Mike Pigg. Good times, bad times. Through winning and losing, always best of friends. This GGP sports presentation, the 24-hour fitness escape from Alcatraz Triathlon, has been brought to you by 24-Hour Fitness. Work out at 24-Hour Fitness. Call 1-800-204-2400 for the club near you. By Mrs. T's Pierogies, the official pierogi of the 1997 Escape from Alcatraz Triathlon. High in carbs, low in fat, the tasty choice for today's healthy lifestyle. By Saucony, proud to be the official shoe of the Escape from Alcatraz Triathlon. Saucony, loyal to the sport. The finish area at Marina Green ready to welcome the women's champion. And on her march in, McKeely Jones, amidst a crowd of her adoring fans. Like Greg Welch, she'll finish alone on the run. Behind for most of the race today, she caught Barb Lindquist at Baker Beach and never looked back. Last year, McKeely just didn't have it here. Now, solid vindication, she deserves the title of champion. This year's Escape from Alcatraz winner, coming from behind and doing it in style, McKeely Jones. A two-time world champion, McKeely Jones has taken her second victory at Alcatraz in 3 starts. And charging to the finish line, Barb Lindquist, the former Stanford swimmer's got to be happy with her performance today, up against the best in the world, and she almost pulled off a stunning victory. Let's go to Frank Shorter with the winner. Frank?
McKeely, you seem so relaxed about it, even though you were 2.5 minutes behind going out of the transition. I mean, what do you do not to panic?
You just don't panic. I mean, you don't want to get your heart rate up too high too quick, and I just wanted to go steady in the run, and there was a lot of wind going out, and it does tax you, and I just tried to relax and stay calm, and then when I found out I was pegging time down, I think I got 30 seconds within the first mile, I knew I was going to catch her.
So it was just a matter of mental arithmetic. You said, well, eventually I'm going to get her.
Yeah, 8 miles is a long way, and if I made it up 30 seconds that quick, I thought I was running pretty good.
So McKeely Jones adds another victory to her extraordinary career. Barb Lindquist, a future threat. Sue Latshaw, last year's winner, takes third. Running strong along Chrissy Field, Jason Hill may be a real contender in this race in the future. He is one of 2 16-year-old athletes competing here. And Baywatch star Alexandra Paul may be a make-believe lifeguard, but she's proved she's a real triathlete.
So what was the toughest part of the race?
My goggles filled up with water, so that was hard. Probably the transition. Woman, I take a long time changing clothes. Wasn't it running with me that's the hardest? We're very competitive. It's my sister, and I'm trying to have quality time with her, so we're chatting. So we're running.
Henderson Cleaves is also for real. His hero is Mike Pigg, a man 35 years his junior. But Cleaves will win his age category and along the way rewrite the books on what senior citizens do when they retire. And today, nothing retiring about the performances of the victors, Greg Welch and McKeely Jones, proving once again that it takes a champion's champion to escape from Alcatraz. For Paula Newby-Fraser and Frank Shorter, I'm Greg Lewis. That's the story from here. Accommodations for the escape from Alcatraz Triathlon provided by the Hyatt at Fisherman's Wharf. The Hyatt at Fisherman's Wharf is located at 555 North Point Street in beautiful San Francisco, California. For reservations, call 1-800-233-1234.